Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Turnup. Before we get started with today's episode, we do want to take a moment and acknowledge the death of Charlie Kirk. The founder of the Turning Point USA and prominent conservative activist was fatally shot in the neck at Utah Valley University on September 10th, 2025, during the opening events of his America Comeback Tour, and he died later that day from the injuries. The shooting appeared to come from approximately 200 yards away, possibly from the rooftop on a nearby campus building, and the FBI is currently investigating the situation. We just want to take a moment, send prayers to the family. He's leaving behind a wife, two children, one of the age of one, and I believe the other one is 3 or 4. It's incredibly sad, absolutely heartbreaking, and regardless of your political views, whether you're the most diehard liberal or the diehard conservative, there is no room for violence in politics, especially when individuals like Charlie are just sharing their opinions, their thoughts, opening just debates and willing to hear anyone's point of view. This is an absolute tragedy for our nation. We only pray that it does not get worse. There's no room for political violence in America. We may cover more later in the week as more information comes out, but just out of respect for him, what he's done with his time on the planet and his family, we do not feel that it's appropriate to figure out motives, deep dive, or anything. We just want to pay our respects and send prayers to the family. CK, I think you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of emotions that go on, but really, in terms of mourning or tragedy, I lean toward the Lord, and I like to lean specifically toward St. Paul. So I want to read the quote that hits me in this moment. Um, what then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? And there's one more quote I want to bring. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, he gave us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Charlie Kirk was a God-fearing man. He was a Christian man like myself. And in times of tragedy, if you believe in Jesus Christ, you know that not only did Jesus Christ die for our sins, was he killed for our sins, but in dying, in suffering, he sanctified death, he sanctified suffering, and he gave us a path to heaven, to eternal life through death and suffering.
Thank you, CK, for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Beautiful words. All right, turnups. I'll try and add a little pep in my step as we get into the rest of the episode. We have a lot of topics we want to talk about. One, I think, is predominant. It was pretty much hid from the mainstream media. They tried to bury this story, but this is one of the examples where social media, individual voice, independent actors that have their podcasts, have their Twitters, Instagram, X's, TikToks, were able to bring this story to life. And that is the murder of 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee. I may butcher the name a little, but Irina Zartuska, I believe. And she was, like I said, a refugee from Ukraine who fled war-torn Ukraine, and she was fatally stabbed on August 22nd. Yes, that is almost 3 weeks ago. That is how hard mainstream media tried to bury the story, at least not give it any life. She was stabbed when she was aboard the Lenox Blue Line light rail train in Charlotte, North Carolina, in what appeared to be an unprovoked attack by DeCarlos Brown Jr., a 34-year-old man with a lengthy criminal record and documented mental health issues. He has since been charged with first-degree murder at the state level and faces federal charges for causing death on a mass transportation system, punishable by life imprisonment or the death penalty. BG, I believe you lived in North Carolina for a little bit. I believe you've actually been on this light rail train. So I want you to take this first. But my question is, what does this actually mean? So why was the mainstream media trying to bury this? Why are we having these just absolute unprovoked killings? I mean, if you watch the video, she was just sitting on a seat, didn't say anything to anybody, just sitting there on the phone, and this man just murdered her. And there's no other way around it. What does this mean? And how should the American people react?
Yeah, MRCK, thanks for having me back. It's terrible. We're just seeing a rise of violence all across the country for effectively no reason. I mean, she comes to the U.S. from Ukraine to escape the war and then ends up getting killed by a career criminal who also possibly has mental health problems. It's insanity. And then even worse yet, on this tram, which is generally a pretty safe tram, it's the tram that runs north south in Charlotte. I've actually taken it quite a few times when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there's generally not any sort of violence on this tram system whatsoever because it runs on the most prevalent thoroughfare through the entire city, north to south. Um, so this is, I mean, it's a shock for everybody. I think on one side of the spectrum, you have a mayor and a DA that are going to try to cover it up and say, "Oh, it's not a big deal." You know, it's not a race crime just because we have an African American man taking on a white woman. It's crazy. This is insanity. I think for us, it spells mental health system gaps. It spells a huge problem for public safety and transit security. It means that we're probably going to have some sort of vulnerabilities with other immigrants or refugees, which I know goes back to your ICE comments that we talked about previously. So if you guys haven't listened to those episodes, please make sure you go listen to them. And then I think it's just crazy that we're going to have the media try to use some sort of psychological warfare to say, hey, this is, how we see the world, right? It's you're either on this guy's side or on her side, and that's it. There's no in between. But there is an in between. We clearly have a mental health problem in the United States that we're not solving. And we also have people committing mass acts of violence that shouldn't be happening in the first place.
Yeah, it almost seems that this one was a little race motivated. I know in the audio clip, he said he got a white girl, and with his issues. So this does unfortunately seem race motivated, and because of that, it seems like, hey, that's why there may be a cover up to it. When in reality, the conversation should be, a woman was just murdered with zero, just sitting uh, on the train,
On the
and
train, it's
then
just like taking the bus. Yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy.
it's absolutely unacceptable, and the fact that there's not more outrage or something is also kind of wild in itself. I mean, I think if you want to take a bigger picture and be like, okay, how bad are our cities? DC, again, one of the worst, dirty cities that need to get cleaned up. Hey, it's getting cleaned up, and you're seeing a lot of improvement there. The administration wants to move into Chicago, and the Chicago mayor is actively telling people to revolt and riot if the administration moves troops in there, right? And so, at what point do you say, hey, this isn't politics anymore? We're just looking at public safety and ensuring that people can take public transportation without dying. Like, where do we go for them, CK? Like how is this going to impact next decisions by this administration or just Americans in general that are fed up with not being able to be safe in their own city?
Yeah, fed up is the right word. If you've lived in a big city and taken a train, you've had experiences with people similar to this guy. Like almost on a, if you take the train on a daily, you've probably experienced this on a daily or at least on a weekly. I saw something on X, and it's like you board a, you have three options when this happens. You board a train and you see someone that looks like this, you immediately turn and leave. You're labeled a racist. Or, scenario B, you sit beside that person, you get stabbed to death, you're dead. Or scenario C, you fight back and subdue your attacker, you're charged with manslaughter. So, like, people are sick of it. We talk a lot in this episode about 80-20 issues. This is an 80-20 issue. Also, this is a culture thing. This man was arrested 14 times. And we're saying, he's just a victim of the system, so we need to let him go. I think it's racist to say that black people don't need to be held to standards. I think that is more racist than to say that someone who's been to prison 14 times shouldn't stay in prison for a long, long time because obviously cannot function in a society. That's not a racist thing to say. And it's not even about the race. It's about what history tells us, what statistics tell us, and when you say these people need to be treated differently because they don't know better, that is the racist thing, and that's why it keeps happening.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really, really good point. And I think you're seeing almost a shift in America where people aren't, being, well, there's trying to be a shift away from, hey, we're not looking at the color of the skin. We're not looking at your religious preference. We're not looking at your gender. We are just trying to hold you accountable for the actions you make, not because of your demographic, not because of the income, not for any other reason other than the fact that you are a human and you follow these laws. And that is something, I mean, you can't get released 14 times. Like, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a 15th. Like, it's not all of a sudden just going to be all hunky dory. And so, yes, the system failed because they let him go 14 times. If you want to point anywhere where the system failed, it's that now someone's dead because of it. And all those individuals that released him saying, oh, yeah, he'll be fine, they should be, I don't know, should they be tried for third-degree manslaughter? Do we want to get that aggressive here? But what I also think is kind of wild and kind of crazy is that if you watch that full video, there was people on that bus, they did nothing. They got up and effing left. How criminal! They didn't even call 911. They, let alone do first aid or anything like that. They just left and said, "Hey, that's your problem. Good luck." Like, how horrible is that?
I I I maybe will push back a little bit,
All right.
just because one, it's a psychological effect, the bystander effect, that you're waiting for someone else to win, especially when there's more people. You just two, I mean, like a lot of people can say from a keyboard, I would have stepped up. Man, if that is happening and that guy has a knife and he's stabbing people, I'm scared shitless.
Oh,
I'm not saying
I'm
I'm
talking
not
about when
saying
he got off the bus or off the train. When he got off, and there's still people there, and they
Well,
still didn't do anything.
yeah.
he stayed on it for a hot minute though. And
I
I remember he went up and down the train, and there was blood all over the knife, all over the cameras.
I'm not saying it's right or anything else, but I am saying there is a natural human inclination of fight or flight to flight, especially if no one's fighting you directly. And it's easy to say on a keyboard or in a mic that I would have been the hero to save the day, but I've sat down and shut up, and a lot of times on trains, no one's ever gotten killed in front of me in cold blood. But there's a lot of times where I've sat down and shut up and waited for the next exit and got off.
Because it's not your problem, and you don't want it to be your problem. It's not worth it to you, the individual.
Plus, I just read you the 3 scenarios. Like, that's definitely going to. I mean, Daniel Penny in the New York subway, right? He fought back to save, and he almost went to jail for life. Pretty much took the Trump administration to save him.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So where do we go in American society right now? So there's, again, with the current administration and everything that's happening and decisions that are being made, and then you're seeing it ripple across the culture, right? But then you're seeing, again, what would happen with this Ukrainian woman. Is there going to be a culture shift where Americans start pushing back, say, hey, enough is enough. You are either going to protect our cities, or hey, we will protest. Hey, we will riot. Hey, we'll just vote you out. Do you think there is going to be some shift? And I don't think this is the lone incident that's going to push it over the edge. But I think this is just another event that happened that could potentially get the American people there.
There has been a culture shift for sure. I don't know if it will be enough. And also, I mean, with the way people are ingrained, I feel like everyone's going to forget about. Probably because of today's events, everyone's going to forget about this tomorrow. So I don't know if it'll move the needle.
All right.
I think regionally, MR, to your point, you'll probably see a shift because the big perspective about Charlotte is generally, and I'd have to relook at their statistics and stuff because I haven't looked, but they generally have a very low homicide rate. So I want to say when I was there, it was between like maybe 40 to 50 total a year. Like it's very low for a metropolitan city.
Yeah.
So I think specifically in a place like North Carolina, you might see a shift in what people want to see from their elected officials.
Is there a big metropolitan area that's red? I'm genuinely asking. Is there one in the United States?
There are probably a couple, but I wouldn't say they'd be a vast majority, and it depends on what we define as a massive metro.
I don't know. Is there any? I actually can't think of any. And by massive, I think massive's not the right word, but if you're saying big, what population?
Charlotte or
400,000, 500,000?
No, that's not big. I say like 2 million metropolitan area. Maybe that's too big.
That's way too big. 2 million's a lot.
But
All right.
anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
No.
I think if you want to see a culture shift, look at the elections. Everyone's still voting blue in Chicago, LA, New York, Houston, Dallas, Austin,
Well, California may
Atlanta.
change. You see what the Supreme Court did and ruling that ICE can like legally go there now.
California may change. Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, San Jose, Oakland will never change. The cities, never. Not in my lifetime.
Never say never. All right, let's jump on to the next topic here. So, on September 9th, 2025, at approximately 3:46 p.m., the Israeli Defense Forces conducted an airstrike in Dohan, marking Israel's first known military strike on Qatari soil, targeting senior Hamas officials who were meeting to discuss the U.S. proposed ceasefire. 6 individuals were killed, including the son of a senior Hamas leader and Qatari security officers, while Hamas's top leadership reportedly survived. CK. We're now seeing Israel be more aggressive again, almost to the point where we almost started World War III with Iran. Now, I think
What
this
do you
is
mean again? It's been 2 weeks.
It's been more than 2 weeks. It's been about a month.
Yeah, air quotes 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's been about a month since the entire Iranian situation happened, where the U.S. got involved, and Trump basically said, "You guys are both effing idiots. Stop." And it looks like that worked for a solid 4 weeks, maybe 4 weeks.
Wasn't
And
there a
so
ceasefire with Hamas, and wasn't there a ceasefire with Iran?
maybe Iran, but definitely not Hamas. I mean, every
I
day I
thought
feel like
there
I'm
was.
reading an article.
Yeah, it seems like every time Israel offers a ceasefire, it's just so they can prepare for their next preemptive strike. I don't get it. And you know what? I actually don't get. It seems like Trump administration led Hamas into the building for meetings, like baited them into the building so that they could be sitting ducks. How does that protect America's interest? Like what does this attack on in Doha? This is Qatar is an ally of the United States. How is that America first? What are we doing? Why
Well, what
why is it in our best interest to help Israel rehash this so that when they bite off more more than they can chew, we have to get involved again?
I mean, I think almost the bigger problem is that they're attacking another nation that they don't truly have issues with, being
That
Qatar.
is an
They
ally
can
of the U.S.
exactly. Like, I think that crosses a lot of lines there, where it's like you cannot do that, like,
But
at all, under any circumstance.
But my problem isn't with Israel, because Israel's going to do what Israel does since the existence
So
of
what? You want the
Israel.
United States to condemn the attack and say, Israel, you cross the line, f you,
They're clearly not going
don't
to
do that
condemn
again?
it. They cooperated. They
Oh,
aided and
you think
abetted.
you think the United States was involved in this?
That's not even a conspiracy. They did. They were meeting with the leaders of Hamas, quote unquote. They said, let's schedule a meeting in this building at this time. They all walked in the building, and then Israel leveled the building. That's what happened.
Wait, did they level the entire building? How did only six
Or
people die?
I don't know if this. I don't know what got leveled, what didn't. I'm just saying the U.S. put them in the location and the time. They thought they were going to a meeting with U.S. officials, and what they were actually going to was their death.
So
We
does
knew
this mean?
that.
So does this mean that essentially this ruins all opportunity for a peaceful ceasefire or whatever you want? That essentially, if you're saying like, "Hey, we led you into a trap. Your top leadership's dead," at no point now can Hamas really trust the United States or Israel. Then,
What do you
right?
mean a
They just
peace?
can't.
They don't a peace fire or ceasefire with the U.S. They're not threatening the U.S. They never were. That's the
No,
point.
no, I know that.
How is
Yeah.
this America first? Why do we keep getting involved, and why are we doing Israel's bidding? Like why are we subservient to them?
I don't know, CK. Why are we?
It's just not the day for that rabbit hole. But I am not. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not a fan of this. I really don't blame Israel for being Israel, and Bibi Netanyahu for doing what he's going to do, because it's like I can't blame a wolf for eating, a sheep. Like that's just what wolves do. I can blame the U.S. elected officials that I voted for or didn't vote for, or the people who are supposed to be serving the American people for not serving us and for serving a foreign nation.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And so I think when you look at the bigger picture, though, it's clear to see that Israel's only end state is the complete and utter capture of Gaza, and that anything in between is just words. To your point, so they can regroup whatever they need to regroup, whether it's tanks, personnel, missiles, whatever, to launch the next strike. It does not seem that any opportunity for peace is going to happen until Gaza no longer
I mean,
exists.
this week they dropped pamphlets into Gaza City, we're evacuate now, and they're slowly moving into Gaza City, which is I think the first time ever. They've been sitting on the border, but they went into the city, and that's pretty much the only city in Gaza. It's they're taking full control.
So, BJ, you got anything to add in before we move on to the final topic?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I agree with CK. I think it's also interesting that the Qataris were willing to throw Hamas to the wolves the moment they could no longer use them as leverage for bargaining power with the United States and Israel. I think geopolitically, it's of a point of interest because Qatar specifically was very involved with the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and
Yep.
getting further connected and embedded through the Abraham Accords to the United States and Israel, because we already have all these different security assurances and things. And so I think the Qataris were in on it too, because if they weren't, they have the air power and air defense systems and capabilities to be able to shoot down the IDF. So there's no way that they just let those planes fly over without being notified to know that these guys are going to get striked,
So why would Qatar be okay with it in the end?
because they realized that Hamas was at a complete impasse because they're not willing to give up the hostages. So Hamas
Uh,
is still trying to use this hostage escalation to ensure that Bibi and the rest of the Israeli parliament will give up, other Palestinian prisoners that are embedded across Israel, right?
So are you saying then that Qatar doesn't see this ending peacefully in any way whatsoever, and they're just
Not
hedging
with
their
the
bet?
current leadership, no. That's
Okay,
why they
so
were
they're
willing to
hedging
let
their
them.
bet, and they're choosing the United States and Israel then.
Yeah,
Qatar cares about one thing. They're a wealthy country. They have oil. So as long as trade with the U.S. keeps flowing, they stay wealthy. No, they don't care about anything else. They don't care about the religious stuff. At least the people in charge don't. They don't
no,
care about
they
any of
certainly do
that.
not. Yeah.
They figured out capitalism with their all of their oil wells is all they need.
Yeah, that's fair. So it's almost safe to say at this point right now we're all pretty much in agreement that there's no end in sight for the current conflict, and that the end state right now, and until proven otherwise, is that Israel will come to control the Gaza Strip, and what they do with it once they control it and push everyone out is up for another debate.
No
Yeah, and
one, yeah, no one wants the Palestinians, specifically the people from Gaza.
Yeah,
I just want
no
to.
one wants them.
No one.
It's this is a telling. This is telling, right? Because virtually every single Democrat is against what Israel's doing, right? So that's roughly more or less 50% of the country.
That's
I
not
would
true. When Biden was president, they were all for it, so it doesn't even
no,
matter.
I mean, I'm not talking about the politicians. That's a good point, but I'm talking about the voters.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Would you
fair. There's a
agree?
lot of yeah, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't vote for Kamala unless she condemned Israel on the Democratic side.
And I would say even the MAGA Trump supporters are pretty split on this and saying this isn't America first. So I would think this is about a 70-80-20, 70-30 issue for the American voters. And yet both sides, the Democrats not named Ilhan Omar, uh, but most of the Democrats and all of the Republicans, not named Thomas Massey, are full steam ahead, even though the voters want the exact opposite. Uh, I don't get it. I don't get it. What? Why? Why as voters are we okay with that? You keep voting for the same elected officials that don't give a shit about you and care about all of this, because all of this in foreign countries makes me money and power and status and everything else. So why are the voters okay with it? And why don't some of the politicians stand up and say, look what they're doing? Some are, but they're just like, it's just not enough. This needs to make more noise. This isn't. We talk about the 80-20 issue all the time. This is an 80-20 issue,
I
and
think there's
it's
so much
silent.
noise. I think there's so much noise. Do you know how much pro-Palestine protests are going on? It's insane. You can't look anywhere without seeing a Palestinian flag anywhere throughout the country, and they're not making any difference. Now, I think that's for a lot of different reasons, and not
Yeah,
really what we're talking about. But there are people actively protesting this war very wholeheartedly.
but Israel's been wanting to do what they're doing now for the last 30 years, I would say.
Sure, yeah,
Now they are emboldened because they know they can get away with it. And the only reason they're emboldened is because they know they have our support, unwavering support. They didn't before. Before it was political, and it was like, if you go too far, we're going to have to condemn this and we can't help you anymore. Now it's, no matter what, we got your back. They know it, and that's why they're full steam ahead.
yeah,
More than ever.
yeah. All right, let's jump into our last topic for the day. And CK, I'm just going to hand it over to you. You are the subject matter expert on everything Epstein, so please give us an update on what's going on, because a lot has happened since we last recorded.
Yeah, so we had that press conference with the victims. You know, some of it didn't rub me the right way. They said, "Hey, if you're here, like to call for this discharge petition, just name the names." And they're like, "Oh, we're not going to do that." Uh, I thought, a little sketchy, right? Like, all people want, like, why are we talking like in these cryptic messages? And we're coming for you. We'll come our us. And then, like, even Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey gave him an out. Said, maybe they don't want to get sued into oblivion for defamation for something they can't prove or whatever. But we can't get sued when we're talking on the House floor. So if they tell us the names, we'll happily announce them. Haven't heard one name announced. So I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way, although I think Thomas Massey was doing the right move. And Mike Johnson refused to bring this bill to the floor to release 100%, because apparently only 3% has been released. Mike Johnson refused to bring it to the floor. So now Massey's signed a discharge petition and needs 218 vote or signatures to bring it to the floor, which means they need they needed 6 Republicans. Right now they're at 5. Every single Democrat signed on, so there are 217 of 218 votes. The funny thing is, though, the Virginia special election just gave the Dems another Democratic seat, and that person has vowed to sign. So if that would bring it to 218 votes. However, John Thune, the senator, the speaker, what is it? What's the head senator called?
Speaker,
the whip?
Speaker.
No, I think it's speaker. But anyways, John Thune, the head Republican in the Senate, has said he will not bring it to a vote.
Oh, wow.
And even if John Thune brought it to a vote, and even if the senators voted for it, Trump would have to sign into law. We know that's not going to happen. So I think the play is, right, they tried to bury this news in August with August recesses. It almost worked. And then he brought this all back into the news cycle, and it was completely back. Not only that, every single person that's voting to bury this has to sign their name voting to bury it. And so now you have a record of who is voting for less transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. I think that's important. So I think that's the play. Other than that, we had some stuff come out about Trump's birthday letter to Epstein. And my problem is, because obviously MAGA are saying it's fake. Obviously the Dems are saying it's not. My problem is they both have been lying to us about this forever. So I can't trust either of them. You can't. You tell me no one can make a signature that looks like that, but you tell me Donald Trump, who's ran on this, all of his administration ran on this, and now he's saying we're still talking about this, and is now doing his damnedest to bury it. Now, I don't think I believed before that he would do something like that. I kind of do now. And then there's this check that apparently Trump wrote to Epstein for a depreciated woman or something. I don't know. So there's been quite a few things. Are we any closer to getting any transparency or real files? No, we are not.
Thanks, CK, for that breakdown. I don't think there's anyone that can really do it better. And I do agree with your overall ending statement is that I do not feel that we are going to make any more progress. And I think like 5 episodes ago, I was like, hey, this is kind of a waste of time because nothing's going to happen. Now, my mindset, you can say, hey, is part of the problem, but it's also probably the reality. And I do find it interesting. I'll rehash that. Hey, Trump ran on releasing the Epstein files. He was very open about it. People were for it, and I think he got a lot of votes for it. And so it really makes you wonder one of two things. One, is he compromised? Or two, is there so much pressure to not release it from all the hidden figures, the whatever powerful people of the world, that they're actually making him shut up because they can get to him in 100 different ways, and that is the red line that he cannot cross. And so MAGA wants to believe one thing, liberals want to believe the other, and we as the people can only kind of guess where we're at. But I don't think anything's really going to happen in the near future. This will probably get buried again and it'll probably come back up. There's so many things that are happening in the news cycle that it'll probably fall to back page news. And I guess maybe in a few weeks it'll come back up until another crisis happens because it feels like something horrible happens monthly. Like it's insane. It's I feel like it's almost unprecedented how many bad, wild things are happening this year.
This is another I would say this is probably a 95-5 issue.
Sure.
It's the second big issue that Trump's on the wrong side of. And so it begs the question, if you're not serving the American people, especially your base, who are you serving?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right, BG, do you got any closing comments or anything you want or have on your mind that you want to wrap up today's show with?
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't let the Epstein files die. There's more to the story. I think there are prominent figures in our politics who were trying to be used in some level of blackmail or some sort of material to be controlled. By who and for what reasons, don't know. It's all speculative, but there's definitely something bigger under the rug if these files have not actually been released.
Yeah, I agree. CK, you got anything else to close it out?
No, nothing else.
And usually you got a huge list for me. Usually got a joke in there too, but I get it. My big thing is someone asked me later in the day today, like, hey, do you think a civil war is possible? Do you think we're getting there? I responded, no, I still don't think we're in line for a civil war, but I do think there's an overall change in culture, and I think a lot of things that we've tolerated in the last 5-10 years are changing, and people are going to stop tolerating it. I also feel that if the government doesn't clean up its act, clean up the cities, do things that people actually want, that there is going to be a lot more pushback and people aren't going to be as compliant. It does feel that we are in some of probably the most interesting times since the unpredictability that COVID brought in the first months that it came into existence. And so, just remember, hey, be safe. If you feel that you're in a bad position or uncomfortable in a position, it's okay to remove yourself. Let people call you names. If you don't feel comfortable somewhere or you don't think this is good, just leave. Take it safe. Your life isn't worth it. All right. But all right, everyone, we'll end on that note. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Daily Turnup. We really appreciate it. Please hit that like button. Please support. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends and family, hey, this is a great podcast. Learn a lot. It's good news. They try and be as unbiased as possible. Thank you all. And I do hope you all have a great rest of your day.